magical. Every breath we take, yeah.
Love story, their family secrets, and to really truly highlight what's possible for you when you commit to love. I am in studio. We are in studio with Greg Larson.
I'm so happy to be here today. I have been struggling with this of late, this whole idea of being more romantic. Sarah has had requests. I want more romance. And I'm like, burning both end of the candles nonstop with the kids, with our business, just like with everything. And it's like, oh my God, now I got to fit in more romance. It's like, as a guy, I'm handicapped. I'm challenged at this right now. And so I need Mikki's insight and all his wisdom around this. So I'm so looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to our couple that's with us, Nadia and Mikki. Both with Elevate Family. This extraordinary couple has been making movies, has been raising the bar on what's possible for humanity in terms of showing up as, I would say, the new humans, like the new movement towards what love can be, what humanity can show up as, and what we can do for our kids. So we are so excited to bring on Nadia and Mikki Willis.
Raising the bar.
Raising the bar. And I love that I shared just a little bit about you and just a little bit about you being in Hollywood, a little bit about your Elevate Film Festivals and what you're giving birth to now, Elevate Family. What else can I add about that really, really quickly that you guys could add? And Nadia, maybe Mikki, you could introduce Nadia, and Nadia, maybe you could introduce Mikki, and we'll see where that goes.
I would be delighted to. This incredible goddess here next to me, on my lap, the love of my life. For 16 years, we just celebrated our moment of meeting 3 days ago or so. And I just, words fail to articulate just how awesome this human being is, who continues to inspire me every day, to surprise me every day, to somehow get better every single day. And I'm delighted that we've been working together for years, but it's beautiful now to see Nadia branching out on her own, creating her new brand, which is called Light It Up Mama.
Nice.
Inspiring so many women, mothers, and relationships around the world. So without further ado, the love of my life, Nadia Salamanca.
Nadia Salamanca. Yay.
And this is my amazing partner in Shine, Mikki Willis, who is just the most incredible husband and father, and really just human being. He is one of the most integral, consistent, loving, passionate, creative, goofy, guys I know. And I am just so blessed that he's my king. So blessed.
Thank you.
Woo!
No doubt, no
Mikki
doubt.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Well, it's so great. 16 years is a long time by Hollywood standards. It's by any standards.
Yeah, any.
And to make it in this world as a couple, as parents, how did your love story begin?
Well, I always love telling this story. I won't go into as much detail as I usually do, but it was on a Friday night at like 9:00 p.m. at Bally's Gym in Hollywood. Working out. Did I say it was on a Friday night? And the last thing that I would have thought was that I was going to meet the man of my dreams at the gym. I was just really focused on myself. And self-love, self-care. And he walks into my view as I was stretching in front of an elliptical machine. And that was it. His energy just shined, and he's really hot. So that and yeah, we just started talking pretty much. And that was it. That was the beginning.
That was
really.
Mikki, when did you know that she was it?
Right away, and that was actually a problem for me. Because I was coming out of a very long, I had been in one previous marriage to a wonderful person, and we got together very young, and that marriage was just dissolving, and I had not really had the opportunity to spread my wings and to be out in the world as a single man. And so I made my full commitments that I need to do that and get that out of my system. And right after I make that commitment, she walks into my life, and my nickname for her was Trouble. The thing I said to her was, "You are trouble," because I knew that I was just like, she had the power over me, and that I would not survive any other choice but to say yes to her. And so it was challenging, and we got together for a couple of weeks, and it went so fast. They say hot and heavy, like so fast, so like deeply in love right away, that Nadia gave me one of the best gifts, most valuable gifts that I had ever received in a relationship as a man, which was she broke up with me. I had made the comment that it was incredibly important that both of us were, particularly for myself, that I was honoring in this relationship and loyal. And I admitted to her that I feel the need to be out in the world and to date a little bit. And I requested an open relationship. And she said, "No, that's just not what I'm looking for. And so go do it." But it's the way she did it, which was so wonderful, because there was no shame in it. There was no game in it. It was just like, I really sincerely need you to go out and to do whatever you need to do to get ready for this relationship, because I have requirements that you have to meet. And if you can't, that's fine. We've had a good time together, and we'll go our separate ways. But I'll be here because I love you. But I need you to do whatever you need to do to complete that within yourself. And that was one of the greatest gifts ever, because she showed me this her strength of self-love, which made me love her more. And it really forced me. And quite honestly, up at that point, I'd been pretty used to kind of getting my way in relationships. And it was the first time that someone put down an ultimatum for me so clearly, but in such a loving way that it left me with myself to deal with. And I went out and did a lot of soul searching and tried to date and just couldn't stop thinking about her. So by the time I came crawling back, I was ready.
That's so beautiful. Such a gift. Men, this is the science. Men learn from rejection. They become better from that. That's what some of the science shows, that when women or whoever a man is in a relationship with has that show up. And Nadia, what did you feel as you were saying this, and what was coming up for you? And this is a two-part question. What were you feeling as you said that? And then when did you know that Mikki was the one for you?
Wow. Well, I felt like he was the one, right from the beginning as well. But, there was definitely some things to get worked out. And it was really one of the hardest things I had ever done, was to say no to him. And in my past relationships, I was always trying to sort of settle, or I always saw potential, and I would compromise, what I really wanted. And I had just been through something pretty serious in my last relationship, and I just didn't have I just didn't have the space for that anymore. Like there was just something inside of me that was like, I have to do something different. And even though I love you so much, I cannot, my soul, my spirit was like, I can't not have what I need anymore. Like I deserve more. And it was the hardest thing that I had to do. And we call it the 3 months of the dark ages because we were apart for 3 months. And I told him, you know, I love you. You need to go and spread your wings. I don't want to talk to you until I can be okay with just being friends with you. So don't call me, don't text me, don't email me. Like I had to completely cut him off, which was excruciating.
It's excruciating. And even though the word, and I use the word rejection, but it's really in this space of going, I know there's something more for us. And you were a stand for that. And both of you guys in this space of going, wow, I'm not sure. It's so beautiful to see this demonstrated. Right? You had to literally be in a space of rejecting what was being offered to both of you guys to grow into something more beautiful and profound. If you might have accepted it the way that it was, it wouldn't be what it is right now.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, and baby, I know you've got questions here.
Well, you know, obviously the that depth of wisdom, of knowing yourself, of really tuning in beyond the chatter of the mind and tuning into the depths of the heart to know what it is you want. That takes, you know, there's a journey that happened before you got there. And so I'm saying this because there's people tuning in like, how do I find love like that? How do I, you know, and there's no like quick button you can push, or there's no like a chapter of a book you can read. You have to like go through life. You have to like, and then when something comes and you so desperately want it, the ego like wants this so bad, and you're like, no, my heart knows how to lead me to the perfect relation, or the relationship that's going to like feed my soul and like fulfill the deepest urges and yearnings of my body, and like, you know, bring forth beautiful, beautiful souls into this world. And so, but you have to go through life, like really live life first.
It's so beautiful that that's so profound, baby, to really bring it through. Your ego's going to pull you in one direction.
Yeah.
Your heart is really going to say, I've got standards. And I've got this knowing that something greater can come. And how would you guys label that today? How would you label what Nadia, I love the way that you said it, that it was a struggle. You expanded and grew in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really listening to that subtle voice of knowing, you know, of, like I say, it was my spirit, my soul, where it just knew that I could not behave or operate in a way that I had been doing in the past because it reaped results that were not fulfilling. So I knew I had to do something different. And when we were going through the dark ages, I was really working on myself at the same time as he was working on himself. I was really in a state of practicing the laws of law of attraction, ultimately still, of being in the vibration of love, even though I had to let him go. But I was knowing that I deserved, and I was vibrating to my true love, and whether or not it be Mikki or somebody else. So I would do these meditations, and I would just really connect with that energy of love and knowing. And I was like getting out of expectation almost, and just really resonating with the feeling of it. And luckily it was him, you know, came back.
Luckily,
But I was so strong in knowing that, because he's such a extraordinary human being. I was like, wow, you know, in my past relationships, my relationships kind of kept getting better and better and better. And I was like, oh my God, if it's not Mikki, like, whoa, who is that going to be? And so I was excited. because I just worked on myself enough to just know, like, no, this is what I truly deserve.
So the law of attraction, just to summarize that, the law of attraction and non-attachment, Mikki or better, and so grateful for every step of it. And Mikki, what was that like?
There's a part two. I was going to say there's a part two to this story.
Yes, yes.
So, and I think this will answer the last question there too, at least give my answer. When we did get back together, I had realized for the first time in my life that the real power of that discipline, of that sacrifice to go against, this incredibly powerful draw to be together. The chemistry was so intense that that she showed so much strength in saying, and I can actually shut that off for the highest choice here. I'm not going to be a slave to that, a slave to my own body, in essence. And so by the time we got back together, I had a lot of time to really think about who I had been up until that point in relationships. And I'd realized that sex was always such a big part of my relationships, the ones that I stayed in there, and for better or for worse. And that was something that I needed to get past so that I could know that I was in love with the being, the person, the essence of the person, and not just the pleasure that they bring, because we're all pleasure addicts. We're all sugar and food, whatever it might be. We're all constantly seeking some form of, of pleasure in that sense. And so when we got back together, I said, okay, now it's my turn to show a little strength here. We're not going to have sex. And I'd never done anything close to that before. And she said, for how long? And I said, I have no idea, but we'll know when it's over. I just know that. I'll know when it's over, but I need to be with you. I need to sleep in the same bed as you. I need to hold you, to caress you, to be caressed, to be in all of that space without any kind of agenda for sexual gratification. I just want to experience you. And on top of that, I'm not going to do any of my bullshit. I'm not going to woo you with my funniness or prove to you that I'm, knowledgeable about this or anything. I'm just going to be so stripped down and so simply me and so honest that if you still love me, we have something here. I'm not going to try to impress you.
That's incredible, baby. What comes up for you with that?
Well, I'm just falling in love with Mikki as he talks here. That's so powerful. It's just like, wow. Because I think that's the challenge these days, is that it's like maybe, and I haven't been in pursuit of a relationship in a long time because I'm still pursuing this one with everything I have. But it's like for people who aren't in a relationship and, in the world of digital media or whatever they call Facebook, or social media, all that stuff like that, it's like, it's so easy to be something you're not, or it's so easy to live on the surface. And as you're talking there, both of you had to go so deeper than you've ever been, stripped down to just me. And I think if they're looking for something, do that. Strip yourself down to just that, and then connect with people deeply.
And know what you're addicted to.
Yeah, that was important too.
That's
Yeah. That's very important.
Really important.
Yeah.
But it's really beautiful to put what you're addicted to the side. Sort of what causes confusion in your ability to feel with your heart and connect at the deepest level. Mikki took aside what he was addicted to, put it to the side. Nadia also really brought forward this law of attraction, and it's so beautiful just to witness this, and this deep knowing that it was this or something better, and to really go. For Mikki to go, I'm going to give this everything I've got without the addictiveness, the addiction for you to approve of me or like me or me to impress you, and that being part of the factor. I'm just going to be raw and real, and let's go as far as we can with this, which is so, so beautiful. I love, is there a mantra that you guys have as a couple or as a family?
I think I don't know if it's really a mantra, but we are just very much like, let's get present, you know.
Yeah.
That's been really huge for us, just getting present with ourselves, getting present with each other, getting present with our kids.
Yes,
Like stopping everything. One of our keys, or one of keys or practices, is eye contact, is gazing, and just taking time to gaze with one another, and our children. It's so powerful.
And it's so beautiful because the children, we're going to jump into that next, but baby, you've got a comment.
You know what? When I was looking up Saint Francis or Saint Saint Valentine's last night, you know, I don't know how much of it is myth or what's true and all that whole story, but basically the gist is he, you know, so believed in love and the love between two people that he was a martyr for that. He gave his life for a deep love between two people. And I was going to mention this at the beginning of the show, and it didn't come up, but it's like the whole conversation has been around that. If people listening, if you're looking for a theme or looking for an insight, it's really being a martyr for deep, powerful, stripped down, soulful, shedding off whatever the pretense is, and just being a martyr, sacrificing for that type of love. If you want that type of love, you have to sacrifice for it. It just doesn't come easy. It just doesn't like fall into your lap day after day after day, and you can just do your thing or meander on. You have to like be committed and be a martyr for love.
It really is mythical in that sense.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
start to understand why these stories that we call myths have survived for thousands of years, because there's a lot of medicine in them. And so you're right, there really is this sense of sacrifice. And but one of the more practical, simple things, tool-wise, that we'd like to share with people is, whatever this means to the listeners, you can interpret it your own way, but it's about staying on the same team. Most couples that have issues have kind of succumbed, consciously or typically unconsciously, to kind of this Western way of competitiveness. Like, we are a really competitive nation. And you know, Nadia and I are both former athletes. We're still very active physically. And so there's a natural tendency for us to be competitive. And we watch it in our boys all day long, but we do our best to have them not compete against each other. And so to always remember that we're on the same team, and those, you have to be careful of the little nuanced things that start to then create a little wall of division between you, you know. And it's kind of like the way you talk about each other when you're in each other's presence or not. Little sarcastic remarks or anything that's kind of negative that pushes the other one down a little bit or shames them a little bit. All those little things will eventually become little bricks of resentment that become a wall eventually. And then you end up in that place that so many relationships end up in, which is, I can't see you and I can't hear you. Well, you have a wall between you. And so we call it emotional hygiene. You know, we always have to keep the emotional aspect clean and clear. And so the eye gazing, doing that with each other a couple times a week at least, we'll do it with our children too, is really great, because when you just kind of release all of the thoughts and all of the agenda for looking, and you just start to just be with the other person, whatever is between you starts to come up into your consciousness, and you start to realize something's here. What is that? You know, and it's like, and you know, sometimes you know exactly what it was. It was that thing you said 2 days ago that I'm still kind of hanging on to for some reason. It really kind of hurt, and I was never able to tell you how that felt. Or you don't realize the actual inciting incident, but it's enough to just say, yeah, I feel a little stressed, or I feel a little distant from you. You know, so let's undo that. Let's come back. Let's remember who we are and that we're on the same team. We want a great life together. I don't want to make you wrong, because every time I prove that I'm right and she's wrong, I might be lifting myself up, but in relationship aspect, I'm oppressing and depressing the relationship. And so it's really never about that kind of competing to be right or wrong or any of that. It's just really like, we're on the same team together. and we forever will be on the same team. And in the moments that we forget, let's communicate about that, because even if we're at a point of stark disagreement, we still know that we just have a different opinion of things, but we still want the absolute best for each other. I want her to be as alive and thriving and fulfilled and honest and self-expressed as possible, because when she is in that realm, it's very easy for me then to feel like we're dating still 16 years later, and I get excited when her name shows up on my phone. And that's part of keeping that hygiene.
It's really exciting because I see that in our marriage as well. And Nadia, I didn't have a lot of self-love when we got together. I struggled quite a bit, and it was maybe 7 years into the marriage that I really found self-love, and fell madly, deeply, head over heels in love. It was our commitment to being on a team for our kids that commitment to bring about the greatest good that we could together. And I was utterly convinced. It's so funny. I was utterly convinced that that Greg, or that I was unlovable. And I would look for evidence of that over and over and over again. I searched through Greg's phone when he wasn't looking for evidence that I was unlovable. I went through his diaries and his computer, and over and over again, I would latch on to things. And it was through this Greg showing up with, "You're loved no matter what." And the other part that I had to really step into was I was afraid of loud noises and loud people. And whenever we were in the car, Greg was really loud at traffic. Whenever the computer wasn't working, he was really loud at the computer. Anytime
I still am, unfortunately,
right,
but yeah.
I was going to say,
So whenever sort of this energy of Greg would get really loud in a car, in a computer, in these confined spaces, I would turn into what I call a puddle. There was nobody home I was a child or infant, or sort of regressed into, and it's through this commitment, Mikki, I mean, like through this commitment to the team, that it was able to grow what was possible for me. This commitment to, we're gonna serve our community wherever we are. We're gonna raise these beautiful kids to give them the best choices and options that we can create, that help them realize what they're here to do. We love sort of our job is to launch our kids forward. The book, The Prophet, the way that it refers to kids is we are the bows and arrows. Our job is to launch, our kids are the arrows, and our job as parents is to launch them into the future. And that commitment is really what got me stable and able to step into being loved and being and feeling worthy. And I can't thank you enough on Valentine's Day. Like, Greg had the vision to see it, whereas I still struggled with it day in and day out for the first half of our marriage. And we're also going on 16 years, right? 2003 is when we met.
Yeah, we met. Yeah.
So we're also going on 16 years. And I came from an extremely different, I didn't have self-love. I had an eating disorder. I had I was really wonderful, but on the surface and deep inside, but I never let anyone get deep inside, because the shadow self didn't feel worthy of any of the attention. If you saw my anger, if you saw my rage, or if you saw my habits, you wouldn't love me.
Mm-hmm.
And here was someone that I let in that could love me. And so I had to learn to love me as well in the process.
That's beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Thank you
Yes,
for
yes.
sharing that.
Yeah.
Well done, you guys. That is the beautiful upside, really, of the power of relationship. You know, we all come in by the time we're 20 and 30, whatever it is that we're now seeking a relationship. We've all experienced some form of wound. You know, something has occurred that has left us feeling less than we are, and a relationship can exaggerate that and exacerbate that and make it worse, or a relationship can heal that. And it requires what we call the inner work. You know, it's like when these things come up, are you as brave as you are, Sarah, to be able to say, this is coming from something. I have an issue with loudness or noises, and maybe you got to where that moment actually happened in your life. Maybe you didn't, but having a relationship willing to explore that, that was part of the work that we did too, where we would call it clearing the landmines. Because in those places where there's forgotten landmines, it's very dangerous to trek those places. And when you're in a relationship where they're all hidden and you don't know what to say or what to do, and you have a mate that just reacts, virtually explodes, that sometimes can just be deadly, where nobody wants to travel that field anymore. And so when you have a powerful relationship that's willing to actually say, we all have our own landmines, and as they come up, instead of it exploding us, let's defuse these things. Let's find out what it's about, and either find a way to navigate around them if it's something that it's not going to go away, or to get rid of it together. Get to the root of it. Yeah.
Get to the root of it. And that's the beauty of your kids are growing up with the ability to express what they are required to express, to really blossom. We watched an interview that you done with Lisa Haisha on Soul Blazing. And this, you talked about really creating a space for your kids to blossom, and it's so beautiful. What was it like getting pregnant and growing into this possibility together? Was having children something you always wanted? How did you come to be a family?
Yes, it's something that I always want. Well, we always wanted it ever since, as far as I can remember. I knew I always wanted kids, at least two. And we're good now. We're all good. We're good. And Mikki has always wanted children as well. And it was very interesting it's just interesting that he was married for 13 years prior and they didn't have kids. So it was just kind of like he was waiting. He was waiting for us to get together. And gosh, getting pregnant was amazing. And it didn't really take us that long, actually, which was about a blessing both times. And such a beautiful experience. I had 2 really amazing pregnancies and 2 really different and transformational births. So I had a C-section first with Azai. I wanted to have a home birth, and we were home for most of the labor, and then I had to get transferred to the hospital, and then had an emergency C-section. And then for my second one, it just so happened that I was able to have a home birth. So I had a VBAC at home, which was my dream birth, really. So that was really beautiful.
And this story also is connected to the theme of this interview, really, because we moved out of Los Angeles. In the beginning of this broadcast, you had referred to us as Hollywood related, and we're way outside of Hollywood at this point. And so we moved about an hour and a half outside of Hollywood, wanting to get out of that circus and wanting to make a big sacrifice that we thought could actually be detrimental to our production company, because we're not in the game. We're way outside of the arena. And the short story on that is it hasn't hurt us at all. It's only helped us. But we wanted to get into a place where our kids we made major sacrifices for the children so that we could get into a little town of 8,000 that was known for its schooling and for its healthy environment and for its sense of community. And that was I know that it's not possible for everyone to make such radical choices like that, but and it's not to say that you can't do a wonderful job the way you guys have done in the city or whatever, wherever you are. But in our particular area where we lived and where our offices were, there were not a lot of healthy options for our children when it came to education and safety. And so we made, the move out here, and we've never looked back. It's been probably one of the best decisions we've ever made. Our kids are really thriving and shockingly supportive of each other in a way that I've not seen two sibling boys be. Very, very, very loving towards each other and very supportive. And so it's just not a day goes by that we're not incredibly grateful for the way that these little men are growing up and teaching us.
And that brings me to, you guys have had quite a lot of challenges. You guys moved to Ojai, which was right outside of Hollywood, or an hour and a half away. And then I think Hollywood followed you, because a lot of the filming and shooting is now in Ojai, which is fabulous. But you've had a house burn down, all of your studio, your equipment. You've had a great deal of challenges show up. The mention of C-section, you wanted it to be one way and it showed up another. Able to recreate it with your second child. You've had challenges with your production company, with the fire, with all of that as a couple, as a family. I'd love for you to share the stories around that and the hope, because you are like the vision of hope there. You guys have over and over overcome the challenges.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank
Well, I think both of us really operate in the same way, where when challenges come up, we can process through them pretty quickly, because we just understand that if you stay in a sort of victim mentality or a negative spiral of thought, it just doesn't lead you anywhere good. Normally, if you stay there. I mean, it's not to say that you should deny it or avoid it. You have to allow those feelings, those emotions, all of that clear out as however you can get them out. Talk to somebody, cry, whatever it is, and then focus on what's really presented to you. What is the opportunity? What is the blessing in disguise? Always. That's just how my life has worked and how I've been able to move through things. So, how am I meant to grow from this experience? And so I can't speak for, I can speak for both of us. Really, the fire was one of the biggest blessings in our lives.
Will you describe how you had like less than 24 hours to get out, or sort of the experience too? And I love what you're sharing there, but if you get the full gravity of the fire, then Nadia, what you share there can make so much more of an impact.
Yeah. So our home and studio, our production studio, was on the top of a mountain here in Ojai, California, with one driveway leading up to the top of the mountain. And so by the time that a neighbor had pounded on our door to say we all need to leave, we just had enough time to get our hard drives. As a production company, that was the first thing we thought of. Nadia was actually in Hawaii celebrating her 40th birthday, kind of a pre-celebration with her sisters. And then this whole thing went down. I had the two kids and a cat and a dog. And suddenly, we're in our PJs in the middle of the night trying to use no electricity, trying to use the flashlights on our cell phones to collect all these, 15 years or so of hard drives, at least a ton of hard drives, and try to find containers and pillowcases and whatever we could do to get them down outside and so we could leave. And so that and the reason for that being the priority is because this footage that belongs to, if you can imagine the value that we might put on a family album, some of this footage is other clients and people, their weddings or their whatever that we're storing on our hard drives of jobs that we've done through the years. And we might be the only place that footage exists. And so we just knew that the priority was let's save our clients' footage and get out of here. And so by the time we did, we didn't have a chance to get anything. We left in what we were sleeping in that night, and got out and spent a lot of time trying to find the cat. But what Nadia said, I echo in every single way, that the fire was a great gift. And it really forces you to, there's a lot of lingo that takes place in spiritual self-help communities, and we say it's all good, it's divine, it's meant to be, we see these things. And these things, when they happen, it forces you to really look at it, like, if everything is divine, if everything is meant to be, then why the hell is this thing happening? And the moment you start looking there, then you start to understand that what's important is we're alive. What's important is, that for whatever reason, I think that sometimes we don't take the cue that we're disconnected from the intelligence that is nature. And so we don't always take the cues from nature when it's time to make radical change in our life, because we get too comfortable with where we are. And even if it's not totally working, let's just keep doing the same routine every day and being around the same people. And so we firmly believe that nature shows up and says, okay, you won't move. We've given you enough hints and enough opportunities, and enough lessons. And so we're just going to burn the shit down. And now what are you going to do? and that's 9/11, all that stuff that, I was directly involved in. I've seen it as that moment of, like, this is this divine intelligence that we call nature somehow showing up to say, I'm going to push you along the path a little harder. I'm going to give you a nudge. And now, are you going to go back to the old path you were on, or are you going to actually look at where I'm pushing you? Mm-hmm. And so it's forced us to really do all the things that we've been talking about for 15 years.
Yeah, it really, are you done, honey?
That's okay.
Yeah, it really was the catalyst for me creating Light It Up Mama. The fire burned everything down externally and lit a fire inside of me to really express what I want to in the world and support women and mothers to live their lives fully and to light it up within themselves and in their lives and in the world, ultimately.
So beautiful. And so, baby, what comes up for you as your...
Well, you know what? I knew this was going to happen. We probably, could have had 4 hours of conversation, because there's so much to get into with these guys, but our time is running out. And I have to say, your friend Anthony Schneider, he wrote a question, and it's a very long question, so I don't know if we'll have time, but basically he said, first, hi, I love you guys, and that his relationship with Paloma is now over. And he has some deep questions. I don't know if you'd be able to basically, it's like when you let's see. So my question is, how do you explain it when what seems to be a perfect relationship situation, but then it doesn't feel right, and you ultimately feel like you need to not be in that agreement anymore? And I feel like we did all the work that you guys are talking about. Our communication was super awesome, but there was just something that wasn't lining up, and we both knew it. How do I resolve that in myself and move forward?
You want to take that, baby?
Yeah, super great question, Anthony.
Yes.
That we love so much. If you have done everything, then the answer is within that. If you know that you've done everything, it's not uncommon for people to feel like they've done everything. But the truth of the matter is, the relationship was making us see aspects of ourselves that we didn't want to see. So we find some way to turn and escape that. And if that's not what either of you are doing, you need to look really closely to make sure that's not what you're doing, because the relationship might still hold some really great value for you. But if it's beyond that, then just see each other as a friend on the path that you met, that as a mentor, or however you want to relate to it, that you got to walk towards a higher path with, that was there with you to hold your hand, to be with you on that leg of the journey. And now there's a fork in the road. It's as simple as that. And bless them, love them, thank them. Don't try to make it feel better by dwelling on the negative aspects or the things that make you a little angry at them, so you can feel better about leaving them. Or don't talk negative about them to your friends. Don't fall into any of those pitfalls. Bless the relationship as someone who came in and enriched your life, because that's what you've done for each other. And if you can really get in that pure place of being grateful for each other, then all the answers of what to do next will be there. You?
Yeah, I echo that. And it's for you now, it's just really getting to a place of faith, of knowing that your person is going to show up. You know, I know that you can tend to be like, oh, well, this didn't work. What's wrong with me? Or what did I do wrong? Or, you know, just don't go into that trap. Just go into, you know, knowing that she was a teacher and, you know, a person on your path to get you to this next level, and stay open and trust during this, you know, next step.
And sorry, Anthony, sorry. I know how much you love Paloma, and we love her too. So I'm sorry to hear that, brother.
What a beautiful response. And Anthony, we're with you guys in what it feels like. And it's not over till it's over, is the other part of this. Is I think in our relationship, Greg and myself, I ran quite a bit. And we were living in Los Angeles, and I would get threatened or hurt, and I would get into a car, and halfway to Texas, my parents lived in Louisiana. So I would jump in a car in Los Angeles and start driving, and halfway to Texas, I would get back into myself and be able to pick up the phone and say, baby, oh, I can see this from another perspective. And I'm going to visit my parents, and I'll be back in a little bit. But Greg had to get used to, in our marriage, me leaving, dramatically leaving. Like, it wasn't like a simple, you know.
It was Hollywood, baby.
It was
In the rain.
It was dramatic and full of everything you can imagine. And sometimes by the time I got to Texas is when I would be back into myself. And it was like, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Sort of turn the other cheek. And when I would call Greg on the phone and I'd have this conversation, he would come back with such warmth and such love. And that's where it was invented, you're forgiven before you do anything. And it's really not over till it's over. And you know when it's over is when you're not running from each other, when there's not a push-pull, when it's, gosh, we did so much, I grew so much, thank you in every way. And it's a gentle completion versus there being any energy still left there. And so
then the other part of that story is that now, you know, all these years later, as the drama is happening, Sarah doesn't need to drive to Texas anymore. She catches herself right there in the bedroom, or right there in the car ride, or right there. It's like, that's what growth in a relationship, a committed relationship, looks like. All of a sudden now, that time has collapsed, and that situation can be resolved much more quickly, like dramatically quickly, and then we can move on to giving our love to the kids again, giving our love to the community, giving our love to clients, giving our love to our passion and our dreams, instead of all this wasted energy being drawn out of us into this old wounds.
Into the old
Beautifully said.
So beautiful. And I am so excited about Elevate Family. Can you tell us just a little bit about Elevate Family? And we have about 2 minutes left.
Well, perhaps it's Nadia's project is a little
Yes.
further
Yeah.
along that I would love for her to get a chance to share what she's up to. 'Cause
Sure,
That would be
share what
great.
you're.
Yes. Yeah.
We would love to hear that, Nadia. What you're working on.
Thank you. Yeah, I mentioned it before. So it's really a video content series and a course series. It's called Light It Up, Mama. And again, that was a catalyst from, the fires and me just finding the light within myself again. Because I think that also as a mother, that I was just in like very mom zone, and I hadn't really found that spark within myself to fully be expressed and share with the world. So, and really I'm going to be touching upon all subjects. So relationships, me and Mikki are going to be doing a live in a couple weeks as well, and sharing more of our keys to our relationship. And so I'm going to be talking about how to light up your business, your fitness, your sex life, which is important. Let's just say that on Valentine's Day. I think more people need that. And yeah, I'm so passionate and committed to supporting women and mothers to light up their lives.
It's so beautiful.
Yes.
So beautiful. Light it up, Mama. So
Yeah.
beautiful. And is it a .com, .org, .us?
It's lightitupmama.com, but we're directing everybody to elevatefamily.us right now, because that's just the working website that we have. On the site, they can go there and put their email in and stay connected to us, and also hear about the live that Mikki and I are going to be doing as well.
And
in a
so
couple weeks.
elevatefamily.us, just for
Yeah.
those that are on audio,
Yeah.
so that they can really know how to stay in touch. We can't thank you enough. Thank you
Thank you, guys.
so
Thank
much.
you both so
Thank
much.
you so
You both are a
much.
really great inspiration. It's always awesome and inspiring to see the way that you guys communicate and play with each other.
Aw.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Same
right back at you.
here.
Yeah.
Right, big hearts.
Big hearts, big hearts.
Thank you.
We will see you guys soon. Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Thank you so much, Miracle
Valentine's
Makers.
Day.
Bye bye.
To all of you, thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.
The past is history, the future mystery.